All right, day on, day batsan. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on celebrating tribal early childhood language revitalization efforts across the United States. So I'm going to go ahead and go over some logistical items before we get started. First, this webinar is being recorded for future reference. Next, all of the phone and audio lines will be muted to reduce background noise. And if you wish to ask a question, please press *6 to unmute your line. And we also have some resources set up for you to explore on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see a box that says links to resources, and below it, a box that says resources to download. So feel free to explore those resources as we go through our presentation today. So with that, let's get started. Ako. This webinar today is made possible through the collaboration among the many partners that you see here, including the National Centers in the Early Childhood Training and Technical Assistance System, as well as the Administration for Native Americans, the American Indian and Alaska Native Head Start Collaboration Office, the Region 11 AIAN Training and Technical Assistance Team, and the Tribal Early Childhood Research Center. During the presentation today, you'll hear from representatives of all of the partners that you saw on that previous slide. And all of the presenters you'll hear from today are open to taking questions. So feel free to ask your questions using the chat box or to press *6 to unmute your line and ask your question. I'm hearing a little bit of an echo, so I'm going to ask everyone to eliminate the echo when you unmute your line. Make sure that you also mute or turn down your computer speakers all the way and only connect through your phone line, and that usually helps the echo disappear. All right, sounds much better. Again, all of the phone lines are muted, and you just need to press *6 to unmute your line so we can hear you with any questions that you have. So just wanted to mention that we are especially pleased today to welcome our Tribal CCDF Grantee Spotlight presenter, Marie Claremont of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe, and our AIAN Head Start Grantee Spotlight presenter, Jim Parrish of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. Our goal today is to raise awareness of the tribal and national activities that are occurring across the country as tribal nations work to revitalize their traditional languages. And we look forward to sharing ideas and resources and perhaps even inspiration with you today. So first, we're going to hear from the Administration for Children and Families for welcoming remarks. Next, we'll highlight some national level efforts that support tribal language revitalization. Then we will share tribal, state, and local initiatives, including our Tribal CCDF and Tribal Head Start Grantee Spotlight. And finally, we will share some highlights on current research and resources for tribal language revitalization. So before we get started, we have an activity for you. So we're curious as to who we have represented here in this virtual webinar room. And so we'd like to make a word cloud together. Some of you may be familiar with the word cloud, and we have a question for you. So the question is, what is the language traditionally spoken by your tribe? So in order to answer this question, we invite you to share your response with us by typing into the text box that will appear in the center of your screen. And as you type your response, the word you type will appear on the screen. And as more people respond, you'll see more words appear in different colors and different sizes. The larger a word is, the more times that word is represented in the responses. So in just a moment here, we will get our word cloud up for you all to start entering into.
Hello, my name is Lorraine David. I'm with the Fairbanks Native Association Indigenous Language Project in Fairbanks, and I'm participating on the phone. So the language I have is Denaka, D-E-N-A-A-K-K glottal E. It's the Koyukon Athabascan language.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. Do you mind spelling that again so I can capture that in the chat box so everyone else can see it?
It's D as in David, E-N as in Nancy, A-A-K-K as in kite, and it's like a hyphen, and then E, Tanaka.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So in just a moment, you should see on your screen All right, and I see we have some people sharing, so thank you. Do we have anyone else on the line that's on listen only or audio only who would like to share their language? And again, the phone lines are muted, so if you would like to share, feel free, but just remember to press *6 on your audio line, and then we'll be able to hear you. Wonderful. We'll give everyone another couple moments to enter their responses. And just quickly again, just wanted to offer the opportunity for anyone who is on audio only, just press *6 and we'd love to hear the languages represented as well.
Hello everyone, this is Dallas Nelson. I'm with the Thunder Valley CDC in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. The language we represent is Lakota, L-A-K-O-T-A. Thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone participating in our little intro activity. We're going to go ahead and switch us back so you'll be able to see the presentation slides again. All right. Well, I just really appreciate all of you for participating. It's such an amazing honor to be surrounded by so many of our tribal nations here and to see so many languages represented. And so thank you. Aho. Thank you, everyone, for participating. So now with that, to get us started, we're going to turn this over to the Administration for Children and Families. We have Jennifer Amaya Thompson and Brian Richmond, who will get us started today. And don't forget to press *6 to unmute your audio line.
Thank you, Melody. Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are, Jennifer. Thank you.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be with all of you today. November is Native American Heritage Month. We're honored to celebrate tribal early childhood efforts to support language revitalization across the United States. My name is Jennifer Amaya Thompson. I am the content lead for culture and language at the Office of Head Start in the Division of Comprehensive Services and Training and Technical Assistance at the Administration of Children and Families. The Office of Head Start, since the inception of Head Start and early Head Start programs, has supported the cultural and linguistic diversity of the families and children in its programs. Just like the United States population at large, Head Start families represent increasing diversity. For background purposes, there are 12 regions for federal management of Head Start, 10 of which are geographically based. The 2 others are defined by the population served. Region 11 serves children and families operated by federally recognized American Indian and Alaska Native tribes. There are 147 AIAN Head Start and 72 early Head Start programs across the United States. These programs serve approximately 20,000 children, the majority of whom are tribal children and their families. Head Start commitment to support culturally and linguistic responsive practices are embedded in the Head Start program performance standards, which support the efforts of American Indian and Alaska Native programs to incorporate their tribal language into children's services. In the most current standards released in 2016, a new education standard explicitly supports tribal language revitalization, preservation, or maintenance. The Office of Head Start continues to reaffirm its ongoing commitment and support for tribal language revitalization. We know that language and culture are essential to children's identity and development and support their school readiness. The Office of Head Start recognizes that tribal language revitalization is a complex and a long-term process that can bring immense rewards to children, their families, and communities. In planning today's webinar, I have the honor to work with multiple national, state, and local partners who are highly committed to ensure that throughout today's presentation, we highlighted and reaffirmed the value of tribal language preservation and revitalization efforts that are underway in the field across early childhood programs. Today's webinar is an example of effective cross-agency collaborations that energize the TA networks to strengthen our efforts to support tribal language. As Melody mentioned, we have about an hour and a half to increase awareness, learn about tribal practitioners, build understanding of research and resources that highlight the impact of learning tribal language, and identify additional areas of interest for shared learning and support tribal language revitalization efforts. I know we can do it. We hope you enjoyed today's presentation and continue to join our efforts to support the value of maintaining tribal cultural and linguistic heritage. Before I end my remarks and introduce you to my colleague Brian Richmond from the Office of Child Care, I also wanted to thank all of you who are participating in today's webinar for your ongoing efforts, your daily commitment, and your passion to provide high-quality services to American Indian, Native Alaskan, and many other tribal children and families and their Native communities. Once again, thank you so much. And Brian?
Thank you, Jennifer. Ambetuwaste, Buju, Osio, Yaate. Greetings to all, especially our American Indian Alaska Native grantees who represent some of the more than 296 distinct Native languages spoken in North America. My name is Brian Richmond. I work in the Office of Child Care Technical Assistance Division to support our National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development. And as many of you may know, the Office of Child Care supports language and culture through our guiding legislation, the CCDBG Act, and within the Act, under the Activities to Improve the Quality of Child Care, it promotes providing training and outreach on engaging parents and families in culturally and linguistically appropriate ways to expand their knowledge, skills, and capacity to become meaningful partners in supporting their child's positive development. And when the Office of Child Care developed a final rule to clarify guidelines for the Act, it emphasized that the share of funds directed towards quality improvement activities be gradually increased over the next 5 years. And now is the perfect opportunity to invest in enhancing language and cultural programs. As many CCDF American Indian and Alaska Native grantees have received more than double their normal grant funding, and some of those funds can be spent on activities to improve the quality of childcare, including promotion of language and culture. And to support language and cultural activities, it's important that we collaborate and share resources available to us. And this may include networking with partners in early childhood development programs and tribal colleges and universities to see if there already exists available language curriculum and or with native speakers if curriculum needs to be developed. We can also use resources offered by our partners at the Administration for Native Americans who support language immersion and revitalization programs. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Michelle Sauvé, Intergovernmental Affairs Specialist with the Administration for Native Americans, who will share with us some important information on legislation and funding opportunities to support Native languages. Michelle?
Bago is going to go again. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are. I'm delighted to be here today on behalf of the Administration for Native Americans. We support the goal of social and economic self-sufficiency for Native communities. Our primary activity that we do to support those efforts is to provide grants. I want to focus a little bit on our Native language work, both legislative and grants today. The Native American Languages Act of 1990 really set the foundation for the federal support of Native American languages, reversing the history of sort of outlawing and discouraging tribes from teaching their languages. More recent laws, such as the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary School Act, or ESSA, added a report on Native language medium education from the Department of Education, as well as an immersion grant from the Office of Indian Education called Native American Languages at ED. There's also been some proposed reauthorization of the Esther Martinez Native American Language Preservation Act of 2006. Many of you may be familiar with the Esther Martinez Act because it funds language nests, which for our purposes at ANA are immersion programs for children ages 0 to 7. Some of the key changes in the legislation proposed would include allowing grant funding for up to 5 years instead of the current 3-year limit, and allowing smaller class sizes. Also, on the national level, the Commissioner for the Administration for Native Americans, Jeannie Hovland, recently testified with leading Native language advocates at a hearing held by the Senate Committee on Indian Affairs in August of this year. So national level interest in supporting Native languages remains strong. The Administration for Native Americans remains the primary funder for Native language projects, supporting about $12 million each year. The next round of ANA's funding will be open in the winter as early as December of 2018. So keep a lookout for that. Grants for the next funding cycle will be awarded on or about August 2019. Funding for Native languages has also seen some modest increases from other federal sources that I want to make sure you are aware of. There's been more funding and support at the Bureau of Indian Education in the fiscal year 2018 budget. And this is key for those of you who transition your Head Start or Child Care Center kids into BIE schools. Coming up very shortly, the deadline for the Documenting Endangered Languages Grant, which is joint funding between the National Science Foundation and the National Endowment for Humanities, will close. November 18th is their deadline for this year, and you can use that funding for data management, archiving, and field work, such as digital documentation of your languages. I want to give you a heads up that next year's funding deadline for the Documenting Endangered Languages will be a little earlier. It'll be September 16th of next year. So if this year's too late notice for you, start planning for next year's application. Also, the National Endowment for Humanities had a challenge grant that I awarded to the First Nations Development Institute. This is funding for Native immersion projects, and it's year 2 of 3 of the funding they have available, and the grant application is currently open, and applications are due December 18th. So you can find more information about these topics at our ANA website or by looking at the First Nations Development Institute or
the Documenting Endangered Languages program. There's a lot more happening to support Native languages across the federal government, and as these different opportunities come up, it's more critical than ever that we continue to coordinate so that we can leverage these opportunities and not duplicate efforts. To this end, the Native Language Memorandum of Agreement between the Health and Human Services, U.S. Department of Education, and the Department of Interior, which was first signed in 2012, was recently updated and re-signed September 23, 2018, under the current administration. As part of this Memorandum of Agreement, the three agencies have co-hosted 5 national language summits, and we're beginning to plan one for 2019. There are many Native language resources available from the Administration for Native Americans. For example, if you want ideas for projects, we have 2 Native language project compendia on our site. They provide a good overview of those previously funded projects. We also have a Native language program brief that highlights some of the trends and outcomes of our grants from 2011 through 2012. We also have several recorded webinars, which you'll hear about later on this webinar. And we have a couple new webinars that have been produced by a new TA center funded by ANA, the Native Language Community Coordination. We encourage you to check out these resources. You can see the URLs on your slide, both from ANA and the Native Language Community Coordination, ANA-NLCC.org. We'll be seeking to identify new resources and bring them together in one central location. So stay tuned for more information on that, and feel free to check back on the ANA website often. I now want to turn it over to Mike Richardson, the National American Indian Alaska Native Head Start Collaboration Office Director, for some updates from the Collaboration Office. Mike?
Michelle Watasi Pilahook. Thank you for that, Michelle. Mitia Michim Kiho Mahasupana Jakilak Piwa. Mike Richardson, Mitila Kiwa. My name is Mike Richardson. I wanted to welcome everybody here. I'm so honored to be here and take part in today's talks. Joanna Whitaker will be joining me on this as well. There's been so much interest in our tribal languages and culture. It's such an honor to be a part of supporting language revitalization throughout our tribal nations to sustain and revitalize our languages and culture. Our first and foremost thought is to always listen to what the tribe is asking for and then look at ways to make it happen. Just a little bit about the role of the Collaboration Office in language revitalization. We work for the Office of Head Start Region 11, American and Alaska Native Tribal Programs. Even though we work to network, advocate, and find resources to make positive impacts in 0 to 5 tribal children's lives in all areas, language and cultural maintenance and revitalization is the foundation for the work that we do. Without this is what makes our tribal programs so unique. We've had the honor to work with many tribes across the country, from a few words spoken to full immersion programs, working with such wonderful programs as Juana Garcia and Kevin Shindo at Jemez Pueblo, New Mexico, Brooke Ammons and Jason Schindler at Waduka Darwin, Ojibwe Language Immersion School, Lakota Ray in Wisconsin, working with the work of Darrell Rhodes Kip at the Pekin Institute in Blackfeet, Montana. Those are just to name a few, as well as working with and partnering with Dr. Christine Sims from University of New Mexico, Department of Education, Language, Culture, Dr. Mary Lynn from the Smithsonian Curator of Cultural Linguistic Revitalization, as well as Michelle, who just left off the Administration for Native Americans, Namaku Rollins, and from the Punaleo Immersion Schools in Hilo, Hawaii, which you'll hear more about from Lisa after this presentation. Some of our best resource and knowledge has come from the tribal programs themselves. And as we move across our tribal nations, we look to see what's working and what's not working. How can we take those resources and help other programs with them? Or to look at ways and obstacles that may be there and try to find ways to find new ways to work better to make this a more sustainable programs for all of our tribal programs. And we are happy to say that several regulations in the new Head Start regulations have been changed or adapted to better support the language in our Head Start programs. So this gives the tribes a lot more flexibilities that are part of Head Start to be able to move forward with stronger language programs that's based on the language and culture and adapting the curriculum to support and work with it. We do want to talk a little bit about some of the work we've done. Some of the biggest things in language has been in our language summits that we've done in several states. We'll talk a little bit about Washington, which has been an amazing experience for so much interest in language revitalization in Washington State. This was a collaborative partnership by the Head Start Washington Collaboration Office, the Washington Tribal Early Childhood Liaison Office, with the Washington Department of Education, and tribes from all over Washington State, all coming together to support language for all early childhood and up in the state, with Alaska and Oregon also being represented. Not just Head Start, but also Indian child care programs there. Any of the programs that had language, we had them from the school systems, from different organizations that came in, and it was just a wonderful experience. We were the lead organizers on the very first one, which allowed tribes from all over the state to come together and look at ways and resources to help develop and sustain language endeavors. The first year in 2017, the Paiute tribe hosted, and it was followed the year after by the Muckleshoot this year. And they are currently, it has worked so well, they're currently working the third one, which will be hosted by the Lummi tribe in May of 2018. It's just been a wonderful experience, and it's been so much motivation and passion to make this better each year. And each year the numbers have continued to grow on participants, and we are so excited to see this grow year after year, to have so many passionate people come together to help and support each other in their language endeavors. And we see Washington State just continue to grow in this area, helping each other, working through things, finding ways they can support each other, looking at ways to bring in additional resources that they may not have knew about, but someone else did, and just all working together, not only at the state level, but also nationally, by working with us and ANA and other programs throughout, so that we can help and support them to move forward. Another state that we've done is Montana. A lot like Washington State, we looked at the programs there. They had heard about what had happened in Washington, and they wanted us to do the same thing in Montana. So we saw the very first Early Childhood Tribal Language Summit, which was hosted by the Salish Kootenai College on the Flathead Reservation, Montana, in June of this year. And there was a representation from all 7 tribes and all 7 tribal colleges, with education and language departments coming together. In some cases, this is the very first time some of these departments had sat down together. The different tribes shared what was working, what was not working in their language programs. We looked at ways to produce sustainable language programs. As with the Washington State Summit, this is a collaboration of all the parties mentioned there, from the state level as well as the tribal and the colleges. But we also added a third day to look at bringing back native traditional games back into the classrooms and playgrounds. We look at that as, we have our tribal children having their tribal games as being a part of their heritage and tradition should be in their classrooms as much as possible. So we looked at that and using the language and the culture as the foundation to build everything around. And plans are already in place to have the second one around June of 2018. So we're looking forward for both these states to continue to grow, to continue to get better, and to continue to support each other throughout these endeavors. We already have requested for future language summits. We started talks in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and New Mexico, with possibility of combining Minnesota and Wisconsin together. And we would love to see this happen in all of our multi-tribal states, where all the tribes in that state can come together and sit down. All tribes in multiple states come together. I know that Jennifer Miles Thompson has talked to me about doing a national one type that in that level, as well as I know we work very close with ANA on their national language trainings that they do. So we're looking to get this across the country and to improve to where things can be sustainable, not just start, but sustain language throughout. And at this time, I'm going to let Joanna come in and talk about the Peers Network. Joanna?
Thank you, Mike, and hello, everyone. This is Joanna Whitaker, and I'll be sharing with you a quick overview of the AIN language and culture community on My Peers. So a little over 2 years ago, the Office of Head Start created a virtual learning network called My Peers, and our collaboration office decided to take advantage of this opportunity and create a space where individuals implementing language and culture programs could exchange ideas and share resources and also celebrate successes, which is so important because everybody needs encouragement as they take part in this work. So in regards to what is available, first of all, both child care grantees and Head Start grantees can be a part of this community. It is open to everyone. So we have both sides sharing their resources and projects with each other. What's available in the network is it's a place where people can come and learn about funding and training opportunities related to tribal language development. Michelle just went through several different funding opportunities that are available at the national level. And also we have resources to help make you be successful in that process, such as the ANA Grant Application Toolkit. You'll be able to find that there so you can possibly win that funding. One of the main and most important parts is you can read about other Head Start programs and child care programs and what they're doing in their work in language and culture revitalization. That's one of the best parts of our community. We've had Monique Paulson from Leech Lake Head Start share what she was doing with her summer focus classrooms. Aleutian Pribiloff Head Start share their traditional foods curriculum, which they spent a lot of effort creating, and wanted to make that a part of what, wanted to share that with others so that they could also do those type of activities. And we've also had other tribes share language assessment tools, and we also have other tools available to assist with project implementation, such as creating a mission and vision for yourself, a Gantt chart that helps you create a timeline on what steps to take and begin your actual creation of a language and culture program. And also we have research articles available on brain development and also in regards to the benefits of heritage language learning. So it's a wonderful community to become a part of and just to learn about what's going on nationwide in this area and share some of the things you're doing and get some encouragement from others who are a part of our community. On this Friday, we'll have a live chat at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to continue this conversation from this webinar. And there'll be instructions on how to join My Peers later on in the presentation. So I look forward to seeing all of you there. And now I'll pass this on to Mike to touch quickly on national and regional conference work we do as an office.
Joanna Whitaker, thank you so much. On our national and regional conferences, we do the language summits, which is kind of a small part of what we do. We try to get word out and work with every program that we possibly can across the country. We work with Present at the National Indian Head Start, the Head Start Directors Association. There are conferences in June, the Southwest Consortium, the Northwest, at ANA, at NIEA, just spoke at NIEA on language revitalization. We work with Office of Head Start. We work with the Indigenous Language Institute, Smithsonian Language Symposium, Smithsonian Linguistical Society. These are all groups that we work with or spoken at, get presentations with. And we're continuing to do this because we want not only for our tribal programs to be able to get as much support as possible, but it also increases that network. And when we work with the linguists, it's getting them to understand that we're doing this from a traditional way of doing things and not so much from the linguistical way of doing things. But we can find ways to work together to support each other to make things better and more sustainable. We work to provide guidance and resource networks to enhance our programs at all levels with the goal of having all tribal languages spoken in all of our programs. The last week of this month, we will have a 3-day training in Albuquerque for our tribal Head Start programs, with 1 day being dedicated to language. And we're really pushing throughout everything that we do. We're really pushing language conversation. This is what we want for our children, is to have them conversational in the language. And, you know, we talked a lot about our partners and everything else, and like with the Hawaiian group and a lot of the other ones. And Elisa Ojibwe, who's about to follow me, she's going to talk a little bit more in detail about how some of those partnerships work. And at this time, I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Lisa Ojibwe, who's at the Infant Toddler Specialist Network and Child Care State Capacity Building Center. Lisa?
Thank you, Mike. Ani Anishana Ojibwe Madizian, Lisa Ojibwe Indigenous, and Mishana Bekwe Min Machmokmankwe. I'm Lisa Ojibwe from the Infant Toddler Specialist Network within the State Capacity Building Center. And we work collaboratively with the National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development to support the 260 tribes that have CCDF child care programs. This includes national and regional training and technical assistance opportunities offered to tribes on topics such as expanding language revitalization efforts to reach infants and toddlers, and an effort to increase the quality of child care, for example, through a series of 4 sessions that were offered as an American Indian Alaskan Native infant toddler community of practice, which had 2 cohorts of 61 participants representing 49 tribes, and currently a state and tribe coordination community of practice series, which has 46 participants from 13 states and 26 tribes. So in addition to the examples that Mike shared regarding Washington and Montana's language summits, we also wanted to highlight a few state examples of support for language revitalization. So Hawaii was one of the first champions of language revitalization, and the Kanaka Maoli, who are the indigenous people of Hawaii, led the way in the 1980s with language revitalization efforts which broadened and expanded to now reach infants, toddlers, preschool, K through 12, and inspired parents to strengthen the use of their traditional language. There are now 12 Punanaleo language nest programs located throughout 5 islands within the state of Hawaii, and they're the world's first accredited early education programs conducted in an endangered and indigenous language. The accreditation was issued by the World Indigenous Nations Higher Education Consortium. In addition, the 6th International Conference on Language Documentation and Conservation is being held in Hawaii in March of 2019. So also Montana allocated funds to support language revitalization in a joint partnership between the state of Montana and the 8 tribal governments in the state of Montana. State Representative Jonathan Windyboy was instrumental in this innovative effort, which established the Montana Indian Language Preservation Pilot Program, so MILP3. And it was respectful of tribal sovereignty, as each of the 8 tribes in Montana decided on their approach to language revitalization efforts for their particular languages. An example in Minnesota, the Minnesota Department of Education partnered with the Minnesota Indian Affairs Council and worked in collaboration on the Dakota and Ojibwe Language Revitalization Strategic Plan. Michigan in 2018 held the 24th Annual Anishinaabe Language Symposium to revitalize language efforts and language immersion programs throughout the Ojibwe Nation. And the Ojibwe language is also offered at several of the state universities in both Michigan and in Minnesota, and some of the tribal colleges offer Ojibwe language teaching certification programs. A couple more. New Mexico in 2018 held the Native Languages Symposium in New Mexico this month in November with a focus on equity in Indigenous education and cross-generational models of Indigenous education with keynote speakers, an elders panel, a parent panel, a school panel, and breakout sessions. The New Mexico CCDF leadership team also has a focus on their early learning guidelines, and they want to enhance them so that they become more culturally responsive for dual language learners, with special attention given to making the early learning guidelines culturally and linguistically responsive to support the traditional languages of the Pueblo nations within New Mexico. And New Mexico's CCDF leadership team has been very interested in supporting language revitalization efforts and is striving to enhance these early learning guidelines.
Oklahoma, which you'll hear more about in just a little bit, has established the Oklahoma Native Languages Association, and the Native American Languages Summit honoring the gifts of Native American languages was held in Oklahoma this August of 2018 for diverse stakeholders, communities to share successes, challenges, and paths to further support tribes and communities to strengthen their traditional Native languages. So we want to celebrate these successes and continue the momentum by sharing with you today diverse examples and approaches, national level resources, and the knowledge that there are several states that value your efforts and strive to encourage tribes' language revitalization and immersion programs. So now I'd like to hand it over to Melody from the National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development.
Thank you, Lisa. De onde batsang yak omba bet aharo gumdagima aka. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melody Redbird Post, and I am the director of the National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development. And it's such an honor to be here and to see so many different tribal nations represented here today. And so just to tell you a little bit about our National Center, we support American Indian and Alaska Native Child Care and Development Fund grantees to meet their goals regarding implementation of the CCDF final rule, including, as Brian and Jennifer had mentioned earlier, including ensuring that they can design and implement CCDF and child care services that meet the needs of their children and families within their community and tribal nation. And this also includes support to tribes with thinking about ways that they can invest their CCDF quality funds to support and enhance their tribal language revitalization efforts. And just so you know, tribal language revitalization has really become a hot topic over the past couple of years, and we're seeing a lot more training and technical assistance requests through our center regarding the support in tribal language revitalization and how CCDF programs might be able to support their tribe's language revitalization efforts through their CCDF and child care services. And so with that, I just wanted to remind everyone we do have those links to resources, and so feel free to explore. We do have the link in the links to resources box on the left-hand side of your screen, the link to our National Center, where you will find links to all of our resources as well as contact information. And that is why we are very honored to welcome our first grantee spotlight here, and representing the American Indian and Alaska Native CCDF grantees, we have Marie Claremont of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe Child Care Services and Lakota Language Preservation Project. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Marie.
Good afternoon. My name is Marie Claremont from the Rosebud Sioux Tribe Child Care Service Program. I will be going over the slide Gail Spotted Tail, our program director, put together for this webinar. We are very honored to share our teachings of our language and culture with all of you. And we thank Melody and all the organizers for giving us time. Gail sends greetings and apologizes for not being able to join us today. The photo is a picture of Gail's great-grandmother, the wife of Chief Spotted Tail and infant. This picture is hanging in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. The significance of it is the Sioux Cradle Board. The Cradle Board has many teachings and is very important for the beginning of the life of an infant. What you see is called a soft cradle board. These are made in the early 1800s when the culture of our people was still being practiced. We have a project called the Cradle Board Project. We completed as a part of the Gales Advocacy Project as a global leader. Some of you are fortunate to hear of this at the conference in Denver in September. Slide 2. History. In 1995, beginning in incorporating language and culture into the program by educating myself on the identity. In 1998, designed and built a child care facility that was exclusive of culture elements. 2000, daycare center offers bicultural and bilingual daycare services to 6 weeks to 12 weeks of age. Fluent Lakota speakers are hired as Lakota educators to teach Lakota. 2009 to 2018 taught song and dance to children at daycare and in communities. Purpose was to establish identity, a positive self-esteem, and a desire to want to learn Lakota. Utilize Lakota songs because it encompasses language, history, culture, and spirituality. They are significant sources of the culture in its traditional content. Lakota songs record relationships. It is these relationships that are crucial in 2015 Certificate of Excellence, promoting tribal languages in early childhood. 2009 Wolakota Award from Sinte Gleshka University, one selected throughout tribes. 2017 Cradle Board Project creating baby bonnet, quilts, amulets, and moccasins. 2019 provider trainings that include adverse childhood experience training, understanding our traumas, and cultural training. Slide 3. Next slide. The Sichungu Oyate Chikala Onwanspi Oti. In 1999, the RST Child Care Service designed, built the Sichungu Sikala Wapspe Oti Daycare Center, Training Center with culture in the forefront. The goal was to create a bicultural, bilingual learning environment, to use the training center as a tool to restore traditional knowledge and to revitalize Lakota language. Traditional knowledge and language construction will be provided to the families of the Sichungu. Next slide. Seven generations, 2009, employment of the Lakota Wasekie for development and training of staff, parents and providers, children enrolled in daycare centers learning Lakota language, cultural education training, and health and safety training. We educate our people in the prospered techniques of child rearing practices, inculcate our traditional social values and educational training of staff and providers. In 2016, cultural educational trainings, early childhood trainings, health and safety trainings, Lakota language instruction, development of increased language and cultural resources. 2023, ongoing quality child care and cultural educational training and Lakota language instruction to further develop education for our children on the importance of our traditional views on recycling and protecting our ecosystems. 2013, children with family members as child care providers, daycare centers, used only as a training center only. This departs our goals to partners with other members of our Oshete Shakowi in the sharing of resources. early childhood training, support and guidance, and friendship. Most importantly, to design and teach our children's unity. Next slide. You could skip that one and then go to the next one. The next one was on Lakota, retaining culture identity and professional development. I don't see it come up. Okay, the next slide was say pictures of documentary called Across the Creek. Okay, the pictures is from a documentary called Across the Creek. It's Lakota educator, Lakota language teacher, infant and toddler, and then it was a circle time daycare kids. Pictures of what is going on in the classrooms. Next slide. The next one is the Timsila turnip harvest and the grandmother telling stories about the Timsila she heard from her grandma. And the other picture is a child care provider with kids hunted and dug Timsila and made their braids. Next slide. The next slide is on a booklet on water, and it's water. It's called Mini Wichoni. And then the other picture is a small creek, and it's called Wiwila. Next slide. The next one is on a kinship book for children. Mei, that's me. The booklet teaches kinship terms. The daycare staff and families bring in pictures of immediate family members living in the home of the child and make a book. The cover is a picture of their family with the term family, Tiwahe. Then the first picture is a picture of the child. Then the mom, the dad, sisters, brothers, and so forth. Even if they have a dog, we include their name. The idea here is the kids learn kinship terms and on how address their family members as well as themselves. When each child's kinship book was completed, the teacher would go over their book with the child. We use PowerPoints to upload pictures and insert the term on top. The children enjoy seeing their family members during the day. Next slide is a resource established, prepare to kids for the provider and family homes that are for the use of language learning, and such as posters, label stories, phrases, stories of values, kinship charts, preservation efforts by creating audio and video recordings of daily conversations to help with vocabulary, sentence structure, and cultural protocol. Provide resources in the office for cultural activities such as naming ceremonies, honorings, information of family history, research sites for design, songs, and kinship. Development of language learning resources. Awareness on the status of the language, use of radio, newspapers, and social media. Create language tests for progress and use of the incentive store for progress. Encourage family learning using games, Lakota Bingo, Simon Says, Family Feud. Partner with local language teachers and local tribal universities also. Include elders and historians. Incorporate all activities within the tribal plan section on quality improvement goals. And I would like to thank you all for listening. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, Marie, for sharing all of that wonderful information and all of the activities you have going on in your program over there. So I just wanted to say we really appreciate you coming on and representing the CCDF grantees. And with that, I wanted to go ahead and open it up to our participants here, to our audience. Are there anyone that has questions for Marie about anything that she covered today? I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. You can type questions into the chat box, or you can go ahead and press *6 to unmute your line. So Maria, if you stay on the line for a little bit, we will see if anyone has any questions for you.
Okay.
And we do have a question from Martha Reyes. She's asked if they have access to the slideshow. So yes, the slides are available, and they are posted to the website that we talked about earlier. And if you go to the links to resources box and you go down to where it says webinar slides, you can click on that and then click on browse to, and it'll take you there. All right. And do we have any questions for Marie? We have, let's see, we have some people typing in the chat box. And again, press *6 to unmute your line and ask us your question.
Okay, Plumley.
All right, just giving everyone a moment. Oh, I see we have somebody raise their hand, so let me go ahead and see here if we can get them unmuted. Okay, looks like Carolyn, you raised your hand. We go ahead and you should be unmuted.
Hello, this is Lorraine David. I was wondering if I would be able to get the information from this webinar by email.
Yes, yes, you certainly can. So to get that information, let me see. The best way would probably be to, you can either, well, I'm going to give you the email address for our national center, and
okay.
We're going to, let me see if I can, I'm going to put it in the chat box also in case there's anyone else who wants it. So hold on just a second. Okay, are you ready? It is,
Yes.
So it's the acronym for our national center, so NC as in National Center, and then TE for Tribal Early Childhood, and then CD for Child Development. So that's the National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development. So NCTECD at, and then the last part is ECETTA dot IN. It's ECE and then TT, like training.
Oh, TT. Okay.
Yeah,
TTA.
and then .info. So NCTECD at ECETTA.info. So if you email that email address, we can go ahead and send you the link to the webinar slides.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we did have a question here. Sharon asks, how long will you be on the grant? Guessing that for Marie.
This is, for me, for Lorraine, or for Marie?
Oh, it was a question for Marie. Sorry, Lorraine.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna mute again.
Okay, thank you. All right. Sharon had a question. How long will you be on the grant?
I don't know at this point. Is that with the language?
I think that might be what she's asking about.
Okay. And I think it's, well, for now we've had the grant for like 3 years now. So I think it's like a continuance grant with the tribe. But I'm not sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Marie. I'm going to go ahead and move along to our next presenter. So with that, I just wanted to say, thank you so much, Marie, for representing Rosebud Sioux Tribe CCDF. And thank you, everyone, for participating and asking some questions. And so for now, I wanted to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Carol Bellamy, who will introduce our next presenter. Carol?
Yes, thank you, Melody. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carol Bellamy, and I am the Systems Specialist for Region 11, AIAN, PNTA team. In this role, I'm able to work with many programs across the United States, and one of the first programs I went to visit as a Systems Specialist was the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. It's my pleasure to introduce someone who is not only the Executive Education Director of School Programs, but also the Senior Director of the School of Choctaw Nation. Welcome, Mr. Jim Parrish from Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma.
This is a Head Start.
And Jim, you might need to press *6 to unmute your line. Oh, there you are.
There I am. Well, hello everyone. Sorry about that. But Joseph Jim Parrish, Choctaw Nopa Aikana e Nishkaboka Micha Nanikana e Nishkaboka Sia. I am the director of the School of Choctaw Language and the Education Director for the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. It's a pleasure to be with you today to talk about the Choctaw Nation revitalization efforts, which includes our Head Starts. The title of my presentation today is Maximizing Language Teachers with Technology. And as I look at the next slide, we will see that the purpose of technology in this session is to share with you how the Choctaw Language Department uses technology to maximize the use of their Choctaw language teachers. There is a shortage of qualified native language teachers, and because of this shortage, the Choctaw Nation uses technology to teach the Choctaw language to a larger number of people, including our Head Starts. The Choctaw Nation is located in southeast Oklahoma, and it covers approximately 11,000 square miles. And with that, we have about 220 tribal citizens, with only about 110 of those tribal members living in Oklahoma. So as a language department, we really reached out and said, how are we going to reach more Choctaw people and teach the Choctaw language? As we look at our revitalization efforts, it is estimated now that we have about 2,000 first speakers. And we know that these revitalization efforts are important, and time is of the essence as we seek different venues in different ways to reach out to our tribal people. Our students in Oklahoma, our tribal members, attend the public schools. So that gives us an opportunity and a venue there to teach the language, and I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. But our department at the Choctaw Nation, our language department, started in 1997 with one person. And today we employ 28 people, which includes 18 tribal and certified teachers by the state of Oklahoma. So our language teachers are very important to us, but we have such a wide area and so many different venues that we want to maximize our teachers with the technology that we have today. Our language department focuses on speaking conversationally. And I wanted to share with you just some of our other venues before I get into our Head Starts. First of all, we teach out into our communities with night classes. Everyone is welcome. We actually send a teacher to be on site there. We have about 32 of those across Oklahoma, and also including San Francisco and Los Angeles. We also have teachers at our local university, Southeastern Oklahoma State University, that teaches 18 hours of Choctaw for college credit. And we also teach our employee classes here at the Choctaw Nation, and we have teachers that go to those classes and teach our employees. But using technology, we also use our technology for internet classes that's gone all over the world, and we have about 200 students in that and offer 7 courses that are actually free to our Choctaw citizens. We also have an online class at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, and this semester was our pilot program with that, and it went really great, and we're going to continue with that. But we also use our technology to teach a native language in 42 of our public schools. And our teachers are certified by the state of Oklahoma, and we do get world language credit for this. But we use our distance learning labs, as I'm going to explain to you in just a second about how that we do that. But we also teach in our 14 Head Starts. I am presently speaking to you from the School of Choctaw Language, which is located in our headquarters in Durant, Oklahoma. And as I think about that and being in our School of Choctaw Language, we have 20 labs in which technology teaching labs in which we broadcast out to several venues as I was speaking to you in order to teach the language. So in our Head Starts, you will notice as we look at our Head Start program, we have 14 Head Starts in the Choctaw Nation. And we teach to about 333 students or Head Start students in those locations. And we have 20 classes. Some of our locations have more than one class of Head Start children. So we know that this is a real problem. It's scattered all over the 10.5 counties. So we use our technology to reach out to each and every one of these classes so that we can deliver language lessons. So let's take a look at what distance learning really means. Distance learning refers to a teaching method that occurs when students and teachers are located in 2 different places. It provides live face-to-face interaction so both students and teachers can engage with each other. You can also share electronic documents along with voice and video. So we are going to look today at what was one of our technology teaching labs look like. So my next slide, you can see our Head Start teaching lab, and I want to share with you just for a second that our teachers and staff at our Head Start supplement what we teach and broadcast out to our Head Start teaching lab. So our teachers are always supplementing what our language teachers are teaching our students. So together we come together as a team in order to teach these young people our native language. So I wanted to show you today the Head Start teaching lab and just kind of make a highlight of some of the equipment that we have to use, so to speak. If you'll see at the bottom left of the picture, you'll see a normal computer monitor. And so we can use that monitor and we can broadcast things up on the screen, whatever we want to do at any time, at any place that we want to. If you'll look at in the right of the slide, you will see a huge TV monitor that we have. And with this, and I'll show you this in the next slide, we'll be able to see the school children or the Head Start children in any location that we broadcast out to, and that we're able to have that face-to-face conversation. At the top of the big monitor on the right, top right, you will see a video conference unit or a video camera. And with that video camera, we're able to see the children, and the children are also able to see us because they have a similar lab located in their classrooms across the Choctaw Nation. I would show you one other piece of equipment, but it looks like a puppet. The frog puppet is covering up my document camera, so I'll have to show you that in the next slide. So let's look at how this face-to-face interaction occurs with our Head Start teaching lab. As you can see in our face-to-face interaction, as we look at that today, you can on our right is our teacher, and we put this up on the screen so you can see the students can see our teacher on the right, and as she is visiting and talking to them and teaching them language lessons. The picture on the left is the monitor where we can actually see that class and we can talk face-to-face. Our teachers are involved. You can see our teachers involved in that slide. You can see our students are involved, and we have that live interaction face-to-face. Once again, I want to say is that this teaching of the language is also enhanced by the teachers on a daily basis, even after these classes conclude. The teachers are always working with the students on their language efforts as we look at this. Also, it is, let me move to the next slide, and you will see that the teaching resources, and as I showed you the labs, you can see the puppets to keep the children interested. And as you notice, my teacher is, you can see the document camera kind of on the right-hand side of the screen, and any documents or pictures of animals or colors or numbers, anything that we want to use will come up on the monitoring screen, and we use that to teach the children different things. We have our curriculum. Our curriculum was written by our curriculum specialist, and with writing by the curriculum specialists that we have, and I mean, we got pictures, slides. Our first speakers that we work with in the language department has worked on our curriculum. It was probably, from the curriculum that we already had, it probably took us 6 months to get our curriculum ready and the slides ready in order to teach this, and we've been doing this for several years. Actually, I would just say this, for over 10 years we've been using the technology to reach out to our tribal members in one way or another, much like as you see that we're reaching out to our Head Starts. So staff training is also very important in learning how to use the teaching labs. I have the next slide up, and it's called Keeping Kids Engaged. So we really have to work really hard. Our sessions usually last 10 to 15 minutes in this venue, but at the Choctaw Language Department, we not only teach the language, but we teach teachers how to teach. And so our staff is constantly working on different ways, different staff development, constantly working on their delivery styles and teaching styles and the technique to better relate to the children. One thing that we find out is, yes, we would like to be in that is to have our teaching labs and our distant teaching learning labs, as you can see. One of the next slides that I have is vocabulary words, and I've put this up because we use these and we have slides for them that we can broadcast out on our television screen, and of course, as you can see there, when teacher shows the screen so a dog, the kids will say, "Ophi, Ophi," and they'll be using the Choctaws as we show different screens. So we really like to keep the children involved, and vocabulary words as we go throughout the year. But this is how we broadcast out to all of our 20 classes and our 14 Head Starts. It's been very successful for us. We actually do a post-test at the end of the year to see how much the students have retained, to measure how successful we are. Is there something that we need to do or that we need to change? And we work with our teachers also that are located in those Head Starts, say how can we do this better and what other things that can we do to be successful. And my last slide is just simply the Choctaw word that I'm done. Michaela, so that's all done, and I hope that I've helped you out today, and maybe you can see how we maximize technology and maximizing our language teachers with this technology. I just want to say this in closing. Just feel free to get a hold of me at any time. My contact information is on these slides. Our website is on this slide that you can see other things that we do. But I just wanted to say this. We started out very small and built up to where we're at today. So don't be discouraged that it just takes a little bit to get started. I will say this, we are completely tribal funded. And also the equipment for the lab that you see cost about $7,000, but you have to have the equipment on both ends of the broadcast, not only here at the language school, but also at our Head Starts. So we're very pleased with the results of this. And I'll be glad to take any questions that you might have for me today.
Thank you so much, Jim. We really appreciate you sharing that, those amazing innovations that you guys have come up with. Jim, we do have some questions coming in through the chat box, so I'm just going to go down the list here. So Carolyn Cotapony asks, can we come visit you, Mr. Parrish?
Yes. Yes. Come visit. Yeah, we'd be glad for you to come visit with us. We're very fortunate to have a very good staff of first language speakers that work with us, that are educators and have developed the curriculum and the concept that we have, and we would all be glad for you to come see us.
Wonderful. And we do have a couple other questions. Suzanne asks, I want to get a better understanding, how do the language teachers promote and provide meaningful context for young children to learn their tribal language? Do they do games, stories, seasonal tribal activities? Can you give us one example?
Yeah, sometimes with our students, if you can see the puppets, they'll use those puppets to tell Choctaw stories, our teachers will, but also in our centers, they invite Choctaw people from their different communities to come into our Head Start centers to talk about language, to talk about culture, to talk to us about Choctaw stories or anything like that. So our elders and other people do go into our centers and do that in person if they're asked to do, but we supplement that with our teacher also here. I hope that answers your question.
Wonderful, Jim, and we have a couple other questions, and then we'll start to kind of transition to the next presenter. But we do have a question from Jenny Richard. Is your goal for Choctaw Nation Head Start students to be fluent in Choctaw or just to be familiar with Choctaw terms?
So for the most part, this is an introduction to Choctaw to some students. Now, in our different locations in the Choctaw Nation, they may have a speaker within their family, or they may speak some within that home, and they may not. Okay, so really we look at this as an introduction to our Choctaw students. Will they be fluent when they finish Head Start? No, because we'd only have them for that 1 year, all right? But we do want them to become fluent, so we hope that we encourage them to want to be a language learner and to get involved in our language programs in other ways. But this is an introduction. We like to say this is an introduction to get them to drink of the water and want to really learn about their Choctaw heritage and culture and their language.
Wonderful. And then we do have another, Deborah Jim says that Yakama Nation wants to come visit you too.
That'd be great.
And then we have one final question. Carolyn asks, do you work only with Head Start or do you work with tribal child care as well? And how long after the inception of your revitalization department did it take to get into the early childhood program?
You know, sometimes we work with child care, but they sometimes don't have the ability to broadcast or to for us to broadcast out from our learning labs. We do talk with our child care. I am the executive director over that also, but we just don't have the technology to do that right now. We wish we did, and we can do more and more. We understand about how the brain works, and the younger we start a child with language efforts, the better off that we are. After did it take to get into the early childhood programs? You know, I can't really answer that question. I've been here 10 years, and we've been involved in the Head Start programs and early childhood all 10 years. So I'm going to say probably about 15 years they've been involved with our early childhood programs in this kind of way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I believe we had a participant who raised their hand. All right. I don't hear anyone. Maybe you're muted. Press *6 to unmute your line. All right. Well, we really appreciate all of you. This has just been wonderful. We do have a couple more presenters here, so we really hope that all of you here on the webinar don't mind staying on a few minutes longer. I know that we are slated to close at the half hour in about 7 minutes, but we have some great discussion going on, and so I just really ask all of you, if you don't mind just staying with us for a few more moments, and if you have to leave, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to view it at your convenience. So with that, I just wanted to say aho, thank you so much. Jim, thank you for sharing all of your wonderful work that you're doing, and really appreciate you being here. And thank you all of you for all of your questions. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our next presenter, Michelle Sarche. You're up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle Sarche, and I'm with the Tribal Early Childhood Research Center at the University of Colorado at the Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora, Colorado. We are funded by the Administration for Children and Families, Office of Planning, Research, and Evaluation, to bring together early childhood researchers, tribal child care, home visiting, and Head Start program leaders, as well as federal partners and other tribal early childhood stakeholders to grow the field of tribal early childhood research through pilot work, measure development, and training. And in all of its efforts, the TRC seeks to ensure that tribal voices and priorities are at the forefront, and communities of learning, which are virtual spaces for all of those groups together, are at the center of the work of the TRC. And some of you on this call may have been involved in some of that community of learning work. What I wanted to highlight very briefly here is some work that the TRC Native Language and Culture Community of Learning is doing using data from the American Indian and Alaska Native Head Start Family and Child Experiences Survey, or AIAN FACES 2015. We are using data from that national study of Region 11 Head Start programs in children to put together 2 research briefs focused on children's native language and culture experiences in their homes and communities and in their Region 11 Head Start classrooms and programs. And very briefly, I just wanted to highlight some aspects of the data that are opportunities to celebrate what is being done in homes and communities and classrooms and programs, but also take the opportunity to show how these data underscore the critical need for the work described here today to support parents and programs in their native language learning goals for children. So as we all know, parents want their children to learn a native language. Based on AIAN FACES data, and again, these data are representative of all children in Region 11 Head Start, the majority, or 90% of Region 11 children have parents who say it is somewhat or very important that their child learn a native language. And to that end, nearly half, or about 49% of Region 11 children have parents who report at least some native language use in their home. On the other hand, or on the flip side of that, just over half, or about 51% of children have parents who report that there is no native language use at all at home, and only 5% of children in Region 11 nationwide have parents who report that a native language is the primary language at home. We also know that Region 11 Head Start programs also prioritize children's native language learning, as we've heard here today in the work certainly presented by Jim in his Head Start work, and the same is true for tribal child care programs as highlighted by Marie. But based on the AIN FACES data, we can see that over half of Region 11 children are in classrooms that include formal native language instruction, so about 55% of children are in those kind of classrooms, and about 65% of all Region 11 children are in classrooms that use a native language at least some of the time for instruction. Also, nearly 3/4 of Region 11 children have a language or cultural elder or specialist available at the center or program level. But on the other hand, fewer than half of Region 11 children are in classrooms that have printed materials in a native language, about 37%, or where children are read to in a native language, about 25%. And fewer than half have a language or cultural elder or specialist available on a consistent basis at the classroom level. To that end, about 1/4 of children's center directors and about 1/3 of their program directors identified integrating Native culture and language into the curriculum as an area they needed support to lead more effectively. So I think Jim highlighted this, that Native language revitalization is a process within communities as well as nationwide. And these data from Region 11 Head Start offer a snapshot in time. We know that parents and programs and Native nations as a whole are on an upward trajectory of Native language revitalization. And the data, which are just a few little pieces of data that I shared here today, can be used to see where we are, but also to strengthen our resolve to go further, which is why I know we are all here today doing what we do. So with our diverse expertise, this is just a call that we must continue to grow our efforts to support Head Start parents and programs in realizing their goals for Native children's language learning. And so here are just a few resources. I know you'll have access to these slides, but for the Tribal Early Childhood Research Center, as well as the Native Children's Research Exchange, we have a conference once a year, and we're going to have another one in 2019, and also a link to the AIAN FACES website at ACF, where you can also Google AI/AN FACES to read more and learn more about the data collected in that study. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And now to share some more information on resources available, I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne. And Suzanne, you might need to press *6 to unmute your line.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. No, here I am again. You can hear me now. Okay, I work at the Head Start Information and Knowledge Center and the ECLKC in particular, and I'm excited to be here and highlight some of our important resources focused on tribal language preservation. I'm going to go really quickly because most of these resources are listed in the panel to your left. I just want to tell you that you can find the AIAN pages by going to the Head Start program listing, and then when you click on Explore Resources, you'll go to a page that lists three categories of resources. Tribal language and cultural resources are important to the effort we're working with today. So I want to highlight the information on the first one. So if you've been asking yourself during this session, wow, many of these participants are sharing such valuable information and there's so many resources, I wonder where I get started. Well, let me recommend that this first resource here has a compilation based on a report of national efforts across the U.S. with interviews from tribal leaders, program staff, and parents, and it offers templates on preparing and developing a strategy for implementing language learning for children and adult learners in your program. So please don't overlook this resource as just a beginning and jumping off point. On the, also in this area is the important resource, Making It Work. It's a suite of products that help AIAN programs connect traditional cultural skills, values, beliefs, and lifeways to school readiness. You can create cultural lesson plans to engage families and communities, document children's progress using your own ongoing child assessment process, and develop individualized and small group lesson plans that match children's interests and needs. Plus, there's another Standards in Action for Tribal Preservation that offers a vignette from the AIAN Sunshine Head Start that describes how participants in the program work with the Language and Culture Committee established by the tribal government. It also includes specific references. On the final slide, I'm going to just briefly highlight AIAN readiness resources, a suite of webinars for managers and then for directors, and a suite of webinars for teachers and caregivers. So the resources are here. The slides will be available. Michelle Suave has already talked about the ANA plethora of resources and funding opportunities available. So next, I'm going to pass this on to Bev Mazzeo, who's going to share the best way to gain from the knowledge and experiences that come from the tribes themselves, and it's the platform called My Peers. Take it away, Deb.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah Mazzeo, and I am the Cultural and Linguistic Practices Coordinator at the National Center for Early Childhood Development, Teaching, and Learning. And as Suzanne stated, I want to reiterate the use of My Peers, which Joanna had also talked about briefly a bit earlier in the presentation. So that everyone is aware, My Peers is a free online platform for connecting with each other after this webinar ends. It is a great space for sharing ideas and resources and asking questions of one another for support. We really encourage you to tell us what you might need from the national centers. There are two communities in particular that may interest you, and the images for both of them are on this slide. So it's the AIAN Language and Culture Community and the Culturally and Linguistically Responsive Practices Community. So once you register, and we'll place the link into the chat box again, but you'll also find it in the side panel, linked to resources. Once you register for that, for the platform, look for these two images and join those communities. We're planning on having a follow-up conversation to this webinar on the MyPeers platform on Friday, November 16th. And that'll be from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're not already a member of MyPeers, please be sure to join and complete that short form. If you're already on MyPeers, be sure to join the AIAN Language and Culture community, because that is the community where that chat will happen. And if for any reason you can't join on this Friday the 16th, the chat will be archived, so you can always go back and see what resources may have been shared. We'll also use a phone line on that day too, so besides being online in the chat, you'll plan to call in and talk, and you'll get that number for calling when you log into My Peers through the announcement or chat box that pops up. So with that, we look forward to seeing you online, and I will turn it back over to Melody, who has some questions and will be giving some closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Deb. All right, so now that you've heard some resources on how you can connect and follow up on tribal language revitalization efforts, we do have a couple of questions for you. Again, I just wanted to say thank you so much to you for staying with us. Our first question is going to show up here on your screen, and it is, are you familiar with any of the following resources? So we just ask to take a look quickly at those resources listed and select those that you're familiar with. And we're also asking you, what other resources or tools are you using to support your work related to tribal language revitalization in early childhood? And so if you click on the box in the middle of your screen, you'll be able to type in what any other resources or tools that you're using to support your work that you're willing to share. So really appreciate you all participating. I see we have some people selecting the resources, and we have someone typing into the box. So we'll give everyone a moment to type in, and we'll let you all type in. And then if you prefer to answer over the phone line, just press *6 to unmute. And I know we do have some of you connecting via audio, so I'm going to go ahead and read the resources. Just wanting to know if you're familiar with the Making It Work resources, and also if you're familiar with the report on tribal language revitalization in Head Start and Early Head Start. All right, and if you are interested in accessing the resources listed, just please let us know. We'd be happy to send you the links. There will be a follow-up email that goes out to participants who registered for this webinar, so you'll also get some links to the resources that way as well. And all of the resources that were shared are linked to on the webinar presentation that you can download and access through the website, through the National Center on Tribal Early Childhood Development website. So we'll put that link into the chat box again so you all can access the slides, and you'll be able to just click on the resources once you have those slides up. Awesome. Thank you so much. I see we have lots of wonderful resources here. We really appreciate all of you participating, and thank you so much for sharing. This is really helpful. And we do have another question for you, so I'm going to switch over here. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for responding. And we'll go to our next question really quickly. Please let us know any topics that you might be interested in for future webinars. So around tribal language revitalization, what else are you interested in? What would you like to continue the conversation on? So some ideas might be funding sources, research behind language development, ideas from other tribal nations. If you have particular interests that you'd like to explore, feel free to list it. You'll see a box on your screen that came up. It says, please list any topics that you're interested in. So if you would, please type your answer, your response there, and hit enter, and then it will show up for you. So I just wanted to say if that you have other ideas, other topics that you'd like for to hear on future webinars, also feel free to use the chat box. The chat box is also there down on the lower right-hand side of your screen. So if you have additional ideas, feel free to use that chat box if you have more than one idea. We really appreciate you participating and taking the time today. We really value your input.
All right, and I see some responses coming in. Thank you so much. All right, wonderful. Looks like a lot of you want ideas from other tribal nations, so that's really exciting. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get ready to move on and close out. I just wanted to say, aho, gasela, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us in our webinar today, and we really appreciate all of you for sticking with us and for your input, your insights, and your questions for our presenters. And we just also ask that you take a moment before you leave today and share some of your feedback on our webinar. So we're going to go ahead and pull up our webinar feedback form, and we really appreciate you just clicking on that link that's going to pop up and let us know how we did. We are always looking for ways to improve, and we really value your input. So we're going to also put the link in the chat box, so that way just give us some feedback, and on that feedback form you can also enter some ideas or needs around other technical assistance opportunities. So again, we really appreciate you taking the time today, and we wanted to leave you with this as we close out our webinar today. We wanted to just remind all of us, everyone here, of the quote, the saying from Lakota Chief Sitting Bull. He said, "Let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children." And just wanted to say thank you so much. We appreciate all of your efforts to support tribal language revitalization in early childhood, and we really appreciate you taking the time today to spend some time with us this afternoon. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and say aho, obaha, thank you so much, and we will go ahead and tell everyone, go ahead and have a wonderful rest of your day. We're going to go ahead and end our presentation here. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.